There's been a lot of Trump in the news recently, a lot more than normal, and I got to the point where I've been thinking about it. The Democratic debates are starting to form, and I've been thinking about it a lot more recently. And I've been thinking it being about his presidency, specifically because of probably all of the World War III memes and all of just the news with what's going on with Iran. And I've decided I need to make a video about it in a sense. One, because I need to form my own opinion. It's because it's been a while since actually looking at actual sources in making an opinion about Trump, as opposed to just seeing headlines or just hearing other people talking. And I felt like in the first year there was a lot of back and forth between, he's doing some actual good things, and what is he doing? Is he only ruining things? And there was a lot of people saying both things on both sides, and it was hard to tell without actually looking at sources. And instead of just reading headlines. And so that's what I want to do now. It's been a while since I've done that. We're at 3 years into his presidency, almost to the day. January 20th was his inauguration date. It is, as I'm recording this, the 15th of January. So we're at 3 years in to his presidency. And I think overall we can definitely say, no matter what happens, I'm going to say I said we. I can't speak for other people. For me, though, it's bad. And I thought about, how am I going to make the judgment on it being bad? Do I make some sort of pros and cons list where I examine the things that are good and I assign some sort of point system to them, and I assign some other values to the things that aren't good, and I weigh them against each other? But I don't think that works. I don't think you can weigh what is happening, let's just say what's happening in Iran and the Middle East, and the decisions that we've been making, to adding more benefits to the VA, adding giving veterans more support at home, specifically medical support that they have been promised if they give their bodies to the military. So I think that you can't weigh these things against each other, these issues, these topics against each other, because I just don't think it works like that. But instead, I think you have to take a look at the big things that have happened and decide whether or not those are good or bad things, or to take the things on both ends of the spectrum, both of the very good and the very bad, and to see which way did the scales go more. And I wanted to just talk about a few things. I found a lot of my information, most of it from the Wikipedia, the Donald Trump Wikipedia page. And I think that is a great source, because it's good enough for college. People use it in college and they trust it for their papers, and they might not link it directly. But the great thing about Wikipedia is it comes with sources themselves, so that you can confirm what is actually real or not. So I think that this it's a very valid source. I would much bigger fan of doing this than finding things from both CNN and Fox. I think this is a better way of going about things than just using mainstream media outlets. But let's jump into the issues. First and foremost, I think we have to take a look at what has been done with the environment, because I think that is going to be one of the cornerstone issues of our lifetime. And by our lifetime, I mean anybody living right now in the year 2020. Because we are at a point with the environment where we are going to either destroy it for other things or for ourselves. And I think that there's no need to go on to talk about why that. I was just going to go into a little bit of a point of why that would be bad, but let's jump into it. The environment, leaving the Paris Agreement in 2017, putting Pruitt as the head of the EPA, his war on public lands, specifically national parks and monuments, and repealing 78 regulations, including dumping waste into rivers and just into the land itself. So those were the 4 points that I focused on when making my decision about how he handled the environment. First, withdrawing from the Paris Agreement immediately after taking the presidency is just a sign that you don't give a shit. And in fact, not that you don't give a shit about the environment, you actively are going to do things to destroy it, or at the very least, you don't believe it, right? And I think that is this don't not believing climate change is just exemplified by him putting Pruitt as the head of the EPA. Why would we not be doing everything that we can be doing to solve this problem for future generations, and even for our own generation? The disasters like we're seeing in Australia, the earthquakes, the increased storms, the droughts, these are all things that are a result of climate change and global warming. This is just something that we have to open our eyes to, because it's there, it's real, and not people without agendas are telling this to us. People who are only looking at facts are there to tell us that. And I think no one in the government, at least, is really truly out there paying attention to that, or at least by that, no one in Trump's presidency is doing that. I think the number two issue we're going to look at is immigration. Let's take a look again. Let's look at just all of the points, and then we'll go through them. Number one was the travel ban and shithole countries remark. I've kind of lumped them in together because they both show an ignorance, although they were two separate events, but they show an ignorance that is just unexplainable, really. The shithole countries part in particular, because that was made reference to countries not recovering after natural disaster, and which goes back to this other conversation that we've had about climate change that he's just not getting. So there's just something that is just not seeming to be clicking, and there is no evidence to make me believe that he's trying to change any of these policies. Let's move on to human rights. He rolled back LGBT protections, specifically with healthcare, education, employment, and adoption. This became what is the change that you were saying? What is the rollback that was made? Companies, people, entities are allowed to discriminate for religious reasons now. So you can simply say, I don't want to serve you at my restaurant because you're gay. I don't want to hire you because you're gay. I don't want to give you healthcare at my private healthcare institution because you are gay. These are all things that we are allowed to do now, and I am not going to hire you because you're gay and I'm a Christian. So that's it's an incredibly backwards thing that we're deciding to go back to deciding whether or not who can and cannot have jobs based upon who they're sleeping with in the bedroom. This is just an incredibly backwards policy that I am ashamed to be even just a part of the country that this is happening in. And let's also continue the human rights with continuing the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, the FISA, which is an organization that not an organization, it is a bill that allows the NSA to collect unwarranted information on people and entities outside of our country, but it also allows the collection of information on Americans and collection of American information for this, again, without warrants. Defending the actions in Charlottesville, saying that both sides there was wrong on both sides, and even after condemning the KKK and other hate groups that were actively in Charlottesville, the next day after saying, KKK is bad, still going back to defend, saying that both sides, there was wrong on both sides. And then as this video is wrapping up, I just want to get to the last three, because I didn't actually want to spend a lot of time talking about them anyway. But the golfing trips and vacations, he has spent more money in the first month than Obama spent in the whole year. The Russian involvement in the election and the banning of bump stocks. So this is my view on Trump's presidency. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and we'll see you in the next one.